Welcome to Settling is Bullshit, a sweary podcast about claiming your joy. If you are an adult human craving healthier boundaries, a greater sense of purpose, or an increased capacity to feel at ease in your own skin, then you are in the right place, my friend. I'm your host, Kate Blauk, and I'm here to offer you practical tools and playful encouragement to help you step forward and be your most awesome self. My hope is that each episode will leave you feeling a bit more empowered to make brave choices and claim your joy. Hello, friend.
Hi, friend.
Friends, listeners, beautiful human across the table from me. I am here with the absolutely marvelously sparkly fabulous Jayme Roderick, they them pronouns, coach extraordinaire, delightful human, dear to my heart friend. And we are going to talk about a bunch of awesome shit today.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about awesome shit that's actually being recorded because we talk about awesome shit all the time.
We do
together.
talk about awesome shit all the time because we are both coaches. We came up through the coactive coach training together. That's how we met and became soul siblings. And I mean, again, we talk about awesome shit all the time. So I was like, obviously, we got to get Jayme on this podcast. And, you know, one of the many things I love about you is just like how your sort of beautiful presence and aura inspires me and inspires other people, and the ways in which like you are so yourself.
Thank you.
Like in a way that I can relate to, people find inspiring, right? When we can show up as authentically and fully and embodiedly ourselves, people see it and they're like, oh my God, I want me some of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do the same. You do the same for me, and I see you do the same in the places we've been together. And thank you so much for that. It's nice to hear and accept and receive, because that has not always been true. So it's really lovely to look you in the eye and have you say all of that and have me be like, oh, that's true. And thank you.
Yeah. I love it. Accepting compliments, owning our stuff, and like the awareness that this is a post midlife accomplishment for both of us, right? That like we did not start out in our lives just being like, oh, I'm awesome, it's fine.
No, I think latent learner is the term that comes to mind for me, and yeah, what a journey it's been. But to finally find like who I am, what I am, where I want to stand in this world is astounding. And
yeah. Okay. So what's the it? Where do you want to stand, my love? Where are you standing today?
Yeah, I stand in joy. I stand in freedom. And sometimes those are aspirational and sometimes those are solidly beneath me. And right now, because I'm with you and I'm doing this for people to listen, is when I completely can stand in my joy. I just want to give myself away now. Yeah.
What do you want to give away? What do you want to give to our listeners today? Joy,
freedom of your very own, and all the archeology, all the emotional archeology that entails.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, it ain't no
emotional archeology. Tell me more. What does that mean?
Emotional archeology is being available to yourself in all the ways that you show up, even when they're crummy and they feel guilty or sad or angry, and being able to be with that and then dust it off a little and see what the gem is under that, and then dust it off a little more and then see what's underneath that. And then you find like something sparkly and shiny and unique and you then hold it tight and you live it.
Yes. Amen, sister. Okay. I fucking love this metaphor. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Can you give me an example of that, like from your lived experience?
Yeah, it's sure. So I'm in recovery. I've been in recovery for 9 years. And
woohoo!
That might be where it started. I had a relationship that fell apart after 11 years, and I had to go away and find myself. And while I was away, I learned of recovery and I learned of therapy. And that's where I've been for the last 9 years. And in that is just the slow dusting off of what doesn't belong anymore, what old stories I've been telling myself, what traps I've been in, what traps I've told myself. It's just this joyous, hard, challenging, beautiful reckoning with yourself to get to the juice of yourself. And mine started in recovery. And my queerness is part of this archaeology. I've covered a bit of the LGBTQ plus community all in my own. It's just, I've always been an introspective person. And I've always been like, what's that? Do I want that? Do I not want that? And so now I just kind of hang out there.
What I love about this analogy, this metaphor, whatever you want to call it, is, I mean, I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was younger. So there's like an element of that is delightful to me. But that was partly.
I think you are an emotional archaeologist too.
I love that. I'm going to own that.
Yeah.
Like yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I want, but like a real art, like a excavation of. Elizabeth Peters is an author who has this like series of this like Egyptologist, and I was like, oh my god, I want to be an Egyptologist. I also loved Indiana Jones. I was like, yes, give me this. And then I got older and was like, oh god, that seems so slow and boring and dusty and hard, which is why I love this metaphor, right? Because like emotional archaeology is really like a slow and uncomfortable, and like you got to be careful. You can't just like in real archaeology, you can't just take a like backhoe and be like, I'm gonna dig a giant hole and get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Because then you could fuck some shit up. So you have to like do it by hand. Like I don't know.
Yeah. They use a brush, right? I mean, they use like a little brush that looks like the brush that my father used on the barbecue, like to brush barbecue sauce on the chicken. It was like, you need a brush. Like that's some slow shit.
Exactly.
Patience, my friend. Patience, right?
Patience. So what I'm hearing in all of this, right, is this idea of like in the process of self-discovery, in the process of becoming the people that we want to be and that we can like really shine as, is that it's like a slow, patient, time-taking process.
Yeah, it is. And so it's so worth it. It's so worth it to stand in this place and feel so authentically myself in so many ways, like in my recovery self, in all the things I've discovered about myself in therapy and my queerness. It's so lovely to be here. And yeah, so the hard work is always worth it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So who are you now?
Who am I now? I contain multitudes. I'm going to steal from Walt Whitman right now. And I just do. I feel so much larger than I ever have allowed myself, or felt like I've been allowed to feel in my life.
Well, okay, but let's backtrack a little bit. Like, who have you been? How did we get to who you are now?
Oh, well, once upon a time. Yeah, so I also suffered trauma as a kid. And so there's just a lot of pieces of that. Like from the time I was 4 till I was about 15, I suffered physical, emotional, sexual abuse, and then covered it all up as best I could for as long as I could, my 20s and 30s. And then finally in my 40s, I had to do something about it. And that's where I sort of fell apart and went away and found out who I was. And that's been part of my story. And it's been part of what's kept me small. And like trauma can keep us small and hidden and unavailable. And so now, though, I hold it like firmly and gently, but it's not on me anymore. It's like apart from me.
So what did that, like in your 20s and 30s, that like covering it up, that sort of shutting it down, who were you then as a result of that? Like, what did that do to you?
I didn't have goals or ambitions. I mean, back at high school, I didn't study in high school. I didn't finish reading a book until I was a junior in high school. It's so long ago. I had a girlfriend for 6 months. I mean, like I was doing some things that some book had written about how a person's supposed to be in the world. And I think I couldn't even follow suit with that.
Yeah. What shifted? Like, what was the process of like giving yourself the permission, allowing yourself to get just a little bit closer to those things?
Yeah. And like theater comes to mind because I performed for a long while. I wanted to express myself on a stage. Like, it wasn't because I didn't express myself anywhere else, but it felt like the people that I really admired were able to actually express themselves as large as I felt I had in me on a stage.
Mm.
And I was like, I need to be able to do that. When you bottle yourself up so much, it has to come out somewhere. My therapist would say it comes out sideways if you don't deal with it. And I didn't want it to come out sideways. I just wanted it to come out in some beautiful way. And so it
Yeah.
just had to like fill up in me until I'd pop.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
did that open up for you?
Oh gosh, what did that open up? Well, it took me a really long time. It took me another probably 30 years to look back. I was like, why am I not the person I want to be? And I went, oh, you've always had a creative outlet. You've always painted. You've always drawn. You were an art major. You have an MFA in poetry. I forget that. I forget that. I mean, I love that actually just reoccurred to me. I have an MFA in poetry. And I've published poetry. I did drag for over a decade in San Francisco. I have always had a creative outlet ever since I was 12. And so the problem was I would deny myself the remembering that I would do all that. It was like, I'd do it. I was in a play, but then forget about it and go back and be small. And so now, and like when you get a little recovery or a little sense of yourself, or I did, I was like, oh shit, look at that. I did that. And I can be proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the exercises I like to do with clients and that I've done myself when I'm in those moments of forgetting, of feeling small, of not believing that I can do the thing that's ahead of me that I haven't done before, is to go back and like make a fucking list of my accomplishments. Right? Like make a list of the things that I have done that I am proud of. I did that sometime in the last couple of months, actually before I launched this fucking podcast, because I was like, oh God, it's a podcast. This is going to be hard. I don't know if I can do it. And I was like, okay, let me have my like, yes, girl, yes moment. And I wrote out a list of like 100 things I have done in my life that I am proud of. And there's just so much power in that remembering.
Yeah. And there's so much available in that remembering, and then really like with my clients that I want them to actually have it embodied, right? Where do you feel that in your heart? Where do you feel that in your body? Because you want to hold on to that. I want to hold on to that because I've noticed that life is a bit like swimming upstream all the time. And I need all those metaphors and joys and moments of accomplishment and that list and my gratitude list at night. And I need all this stuff to carry with me in my body and my heart and my soul and my spirit to just move me where I know I can get to. And so that's something what I hear in what you said that you do with your clients is just to have them remember and then have them be able to access that at any time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm big on like writing shit down with your hand on a piece of paper and then you have it and then you can pull it out, right? Like I'm a very tactile person and I love that. And as you were sharing, I was just sort of like getting this like vision of, I don't know, going on safari or whatever and having one of those like vests with all the pockets and like I got all these things with me at all times that I can access.
Yeah, I love that. I just because I hear you getting back to the metaphor of the emotional archaeology, I'd like to think that my outfit is probably purple, it's rainbow, it's, like, it's definitely got lots of pockets and it's got like a safari hat, but there's some flair definitely to the outfit.
Yeah.
I want to clarify that for our listeners that, yeah, that's also part of being expressive is what is on the inside of you gets to come outward. And that sometimes is represented by how we dress, how we decorate our homes, what cars we drive, how we skip to work. I think we were out yesterday and I did a hopscotch. You were like, what's happening behind me? And there was hopscotch chalk on the ground. And I made a pact with myself years ago that I was like, every time there's a hopscotch on the ground, I'm going to do it because it brings me right back to some joy of childhood. And that's part of my expression. I loved skipping as a kid. Adults don't skip anymore, but damn it, we should.
Yeah, every once in a while, I will skip down the sidewalk and I'm like, there's that part of me, the old part of me that is like, I would say, I don't know how, let's say a decade ago, I would have been way too self-conscious to do that, right? I'd be like, adults don't skip. What am I doing? And now I'm just like, hey, this is fun for me. And if I saw somebody fucking like a grown ass person skipping down the road, like I would smile at that. It would delight me. And so instead of being so like wrapped up in like, oh no, what are people going to think? I'm like, oh, this is fun for me and will probably make someone smile, but also I don't actually care.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what you're bringing up for me right now is like how we can inspire people by stepping into our own authenticity. It inspires other people to do that too. When other people are small and, I don't know, wear khaki pants and blue shirts to work every day, like everyone thinks they have to do that. But when people show up as their authentic self, it can be off putting to some, but it's super fucking inspiring to a great many, whether they say something or not. And that's been a lot of my own journey, and especially around my own queerness. You know, earlier we mentioned, or I mentioned, that I've been part of the LGBTQ plus community. And a few years ago, for a solid year, I was on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, because I had had panic attacks about being trans, and like I needed to be poked hard. I just needed like, get yourself to a gender specialist and go investigate that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what happened? How did you go from, I am a queer boy.
Yeah, so I identified as a gay person, a gay male, most of my life, and tried to come out when I was 12. Didn't go over well with mom, so kept that quiet. Tried again when I was 18, kept that not really quiet, but sorta, was still kind of closeted and slowly was trying to come out. And then finally was just solidly gay boy, people can accept it or not, for a great couple of decades. And then a few years ago, I came out as non-binary. I got tired of not being able to claim all parts of myself. The part of me that loved playing hopscotch, the part of me that played with all the girls when I was in elementary school and loved jacks and jump rope and double dutch and foursquare and wearing some of my sister's clothes and then having to laugh it off when I was about 12. But now I was like, no, it's not funny. It's real. And I love this. And I look great in this outfit and I want to own all that. And so I remember just, how do I do that? And so coming out is what I call gender free, because it's a positive phrase of non-binary. It's not what I'm not, non-binary. It's what I am, and that is gender-free, free to express myself. And then I didn't think I was done. I just remember talking to friends and saying, I don't know that my gender journey is done. I had had panic attacks. And finally, I went to the gender specialist. Luckily, I live in San Francisco, and he was a block away. So that made that really
Right.
easy. And then I continued this journey on HRT, and then realized that ultimately wasn't what I wanted either. And so I've returned to non-binary land and just sit really beautifully comfortably in how expansive I feel and how expressive I get to be inside and outside. Mostly it's an inside job. I mean, all of this just
Yeah.
just to highlight, all of this is an inside job.
All of everything,
And what
inside job.
and whatever safari hat I put on is, you know, the outside expression of that, but it's all an inside job. And it's taken a lot to just be on that journey. And it still just continues to unfold. But it's now what I get to give to other people. I had a friend who had a child who came out to them as non-binary and said, I knew it was okay to tell you, Mom, because you talk about Jayme all the time. And we both cried in my office at the joy of that. And that's really all I want, is for people to find their authenticity and to be able to express it, especially if that's queer joy and it's authenticity in that realm, then so be it. But whatever truth you have, be able to express it fully.
Yeah. Oh, I love so much about that. And I just want to acknowledge the tender sweetness of what you just shared, and how doing the brave thing and showing up as ourselves in the spaces that we exist in can inspire people we've never even met,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That we don't even know the kind of ripple effect that we're going to have. And my curiosity in this moment is around, I know for me, and I know this is true for other people, and it sounds like it was probably true for you too, that like we don't, in that process of uncovering, like we don't always know that we have to get to the truth,
Yeah.
right? It's not like, for me anyway, often like there's a discomfort. I can feel there's something there, but I don't always know what it is. And sometimes we just have to try a lot of shit on.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of learning who we are, well, part of my learning who I am is by learning who I'm not.
Yeah.
I had to go into places. You know, it's as easy as like walking into a store or walking down an aisle of a bookstore and being like, I'm not really interested in the books here. Or being in the wrong, a different section of a clothing store and be like, no, these don't speak to me. But that over there sure does, all those sparkles or, those colors.
Yeah.
And so, that has to take attention. And, I'm grateful for finding meditation. I meditate every day. And I read from a lot of sources before I do to fill me up or to give me offerings of what might be on your mind today. And then I get quiet. And when I get quiet is when I get to discover what's true for me today. And if I don't get quiet, then I don't get to ever pay attention to what is really going on inside of me. There's so much going on outside.
Right.
And the demands that the world is, puts upon us. And so when I get quiet is when I find out what's true for me, what's not, what fits, what doesn't, what resonates, what does not.
Yeah. And I think in that process of trying things on, something I see, something I've experienced is that like we'll try something on. So say it's a career,
Mm.
right? Or a
Mm-hmm.
job or a like degree program. We'll try it on and then get really attached to like the effort or the whatever or the social status or the income that it can be so hard to let it go.
Yeah.
Right. For me, that looked like spending 8 years in grad school, getting a PhD, getting a job teaching college. That was basically my dream job. And then, like, getting there and being like, this part of me was like, this isn't it. But then there was just this huge process of like mourning and grieving. And then who the fuck am I? Like, if I am not this, then what am I? The metaphor of outfits. Right. Like, it's like, oh, I had this like custom suit made, except I don't like suits.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I can't know that until I try it on.
That's
But
right.
it's so easy to get like really wrapped up in and lost in and attached to all of the effort that I put into it to get here. And something that's been really helpful and true for me in my kind of paradigm of the universe of just like trusting that things are going to unfold for my benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has been so helpful for me in letting that go of like, rather than seeing that as wasted time.
Right.
Right. Like sometimes we can only find our way to what we want by finding what we don't want. And that's so expansive and overwhelming,
Ugh.
right? Like I had 5 majors as an undergrad because I was like, I don't fucking know. And then I was like, I don't know. I give up. I like books. I guess I'll just do that. Like I ended up getting a PhD because I didn't know what else to do. Like
Right.
I liked school. School was great. I was a little A student. I got validation. That was one of the areas in which I could like feel worthy. And like there were like metrics, right? It's like there's a structure. There was like, do this thing, get this reward, feel good about yourself. Great. So I just
Yeah.
kept doing that. But like it wasn't actually kind of nourishing my spirit, filling my soul. But like I didn't know what the fuck was gonna nourish my spirit.
Right. Because it's still external validation that someone was like, you're doing great, you're getting an A, and you're like, oh, good, I can keep pleasing that person or that teacher or whatever and keep getting A's. But you're like, this isn't my jam.
And like it's like I got what I wanted. I was a college professor. I was in pretty good shape. Like I had a tenured, like it was bananas that I walked away from this in a lot of ways. And it was hard because I was really attached to like, but I'm a college professor now. And if I'm not a college professor, then who the fuck am I?
Mm.
Because that was like how I was defining my life.
This is like what you just asked, like, who am I? And I think the opportunity for me has been, who am I today? And then I always get to like just turn the dial a little bit. And slowly but surely, I keep turning into who I want to be. But when I wake up one day and I go, who am I and how did I get here? And most of us are afraid to make some rash decision or some big decision to move us where we really like see, oh my God, how far adrift did I get? Where's my island? Where's my oar? And so it takes real bravery to stop in the middle of I'm a professor and look and say, how did I get here and who am I now? And because I don't think this is what I want.
Right. And what was so uncomfortable for me was that like I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know what I wanted
Right.
yet.
Yeah. Oh, I spent a whole lot of time learning what I didn't want. I kept trying things and being like, this is not what I want. I mean, and yet that's where I said it's fucked up to look back and say, I wouldn't wish trauma and abuse on anybody, and yet it's where I get my empathy. It's my queerness wasn't allowed, and now I get to own my queerness. It's where I get that's why I am an emotional archaeologist. I also call myself an emotional dowsing rod. Like, I just sense from people, because I've known so much what it feels like to be trapped, to be in the wrong space. But it's why I do what I do. It's the experience of having lived through that and look back and, well, my therapist would ask, I wonder what meaning you're going to make of this. And I was like, I never thought of that. And now I do. Now that I'm a coach, I know. I tell people, this is what I tell people when they're thinking about, like, oh, what is coaching? I say, I know what it's like to feel remedial. And I know what it's like to feel lost and like I don't belong. I know what it's like to not even have goals, or to have goals and not even know how to attain them. But now I know how to thrive.
Yeah.
I once knew how to survive, but now I know how to thrive. And now I know how to help other people find their way too.
Yeah. I think something I've written about and that comes up a lot around here on Settling is Bullshit is the way that, like, we get to choose our stories. We get to choose the narrative of the meaning that we make on the other side of things.
Yeah.
Right.
What people don't know, we get to choose, we get to create ourselves, we get to create the presents and the futures that we want. We are dictated by our pasts in a lot of ways until we really, like, have to do the work to say, I can't do that anymore. I get to create myself and I get to choose.
Yeah.
And that's why I love Settling is Bullshit, because to settle is bullshit. It's so hard. It's so hard to settle.
It
And
really
yet so many of us
is.
do.
Yeah, right? Because we're afraid of not, or we're afraid we're not good enough to not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the biggest pieces for me when you were just sharing of, I have goals, but I don't know how to get there. Like, for me, it was like, I have goals. I don't believe I deserve them. I don't know that I'm good enough. Like, what if I try and it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I can logically know, like, okay, well, here are the steps to the thing.
Yeah.
But it really has to come from, I believe this is possible. What I love about coaching is that I get to believe in things for my clients. Is that I absolutely believe that we are all capable of fucking amazing things, but we need support.
And we get to witness their transformation. And so I know firsthand that transformation is possible. And then it's possible for all of us.
Right. And, my therapist used to say, she used to invite me to try on, like, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
What a beautiful phrase.
Like, it's going to be amazing. She would, like, when I was like, because I was so afraid of, like, not finishing grad school. And I was so afraid of, like, not getting a job. And I was so living a life run by fear. And she invited me to try on, like, what if it's going to be amazing? And amazing doesn't mean feels good all the time, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to get exactly what I want. But, like, it means, like, what if it's going to be remarkable?
Yeah.
And I can't live there 100% of the time, but I will say in the last, like, 10 years of my life, like, leaning into that idea that, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And then when it's not, I can be with the discomfort.
Yeah.
I can be with the discomfort. And this is the piece that also that I am learning, is that there's a lesson in the letdowns. There's a lesson in the mistakes. There's a lesson in the things that go wrong. It's not about, I did wrong, I think I better go sit the rest of my life out. It's, what is the lesson here? That's like one of the first questions I get to ask myself when my flight's delayed or, something goes awry. And I go, well, what's the lesson here? Or what's the opportunity here? So we get to create ourselves every moment, all the time.
I want to know more about what you mean by we get to create ourselves. Like, that word create. What does that evoke for you?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to my queerness again, because what wasn't okay, I finally had to own that it was for me. It's who I am. And then within that, I've been creating all along. Look, gender, I have a little surprise for everybody, but I think if we all took a moment and looked at our own gender, we'd be surprised that we may not all be as straight and narrow as we think we are. and that we're really all quite fluid. Change is the only thing that we can count on. I mean, just think of if you walk outside and it's raining. And what do you want to create in the rain? Do you want to be pissed off about it, or do you want to be happy about it? Or if it's sunny, are you automatically happy? No, because something else happened before you left. We're always a choice, and we always get to create.
Yeah. Yeah. And picking up on that, so like the effortfulness of creating
Yeah.
ourselves, right? And the intentionality that you have your sort of morning routine where you do these things and you're like you're intentionally absorbing motivational content,
Yeah.
right? Like if we want to believe in possibility and expansiveness and the good in the world, we got to pay attention to the fucking media we're consuming, y'all.
Mm.
You know, true crime podcasts might be juicy, but like it has an impact on how we experience the world, like what feels possible.
Yeah.
You know, Game of Thrones is juicy, but it's like awful people doing fucking awful things. And I want to create a kind of world for myself and a perspective for myself of like kindness and
Mm.
care
Yeah.
and compassion and hope and inclusivity and can I just say kindness like 8,000 more times?
Please
Like,
do.
you know? And if that's like who I want to be in the world and like the worldview I want to cultivate, then it takes effort on my part to like consume that and to show up in that way.
It's one of the reasons I've never watched reality TV. The only reality TV show I've ever watched is The Great British Baking Show. Actually, and then Clear
Because
Eye.
and they're being kind.
They're rooting for each other and they're helping each other win, and they're so generous when they don't win,
and they're trying. Like God, I love The
Yeah.
Great British Baking Show so much that
Yeah.
like that I've watched every episode of that more
Yeah.
than once because it's like normal ass people.
Yeah.
Showing up for their dreams, even though it's scary and vulnerable and hard, and like they might not do it, but they tried and they support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all rooting for each other in a way that's just so heartwarming and wonderful. And like that's the goddamn world I want to live in.
Yeah. No, they're so supportive. Like no one fails. You know, everyone, and they do it all so publicly. And it's reminding me of after a year of trying to transition, I stopped. And just to say, like, I had started a short film, I didn't finish it. I've tried writing for years and I haven't finished it. And I've attempted to do a lot of things I haven't finished. And so when I stopped transitioning and I told my friend, I said, I feel like I failed at transitioning. And he just said, just simply like, what makes you think a year of pursuing that you came out the same person that you began with? And it just put everything into perspective. It's like, let us all try to be our best selves and the selves we want to try. And it's not a failure. Again, it's like, what did you learn from this? You learn more about who you are. And I think social media and TV and things don't teach me any more about who I am. But when I dig into myself and I go inside, it's just such a million times, like what you said, can I say a kindness 1,000 times? Can I say just being your authentic self is just infinitely more interesting to me. And knowing people who are authentically themselves is just that's all I want to hang out with these days, which is why I like hanging out with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And just, I want to like continue to underline, right, that like finding your authentic self, uncovering that, like what is authentically me takes a really like a long goddamn time and a lot of goddamn effort.
Yeah.
And a lot of goddamn discomfort and a lot of willingness to like be honest with ourselves about what isn't working, even though we want it to be working.
Yeah. I was with my coach and they were coaching me, and somehow the idea of a popular metaphor is the transformation of the metamorphosis of a butterfly from caterpillar. But they were explaining to me, like, when they're in that people stage, that it's goopy. They actually turn to goop, like liquid, and it is uncomfortable and it is goop in a sack, and it just looks messy even from the outside. And I can only imagine how messy it is for the emerging butterfly on the inside. And so it is, but it's so worth it. And it doesn't happen like a beautiful montage behind a dressing room, door. Like I get to
Right.
try on 9 outfits and then suddenly I'm special. It
Yeah.
actually is uncomfortable. So anyway, that just came to me and I just thought, and yet that is what creates a beautiful fucking butterfly.
Right. And like that all of the like shit that we try on that we discard or that doesn't work out isn't a failure.
Right.
Right? One of the like most useful perspectives or reframes at the end of a relationship is fucking we can't tell ourselves it was a failure. Right? Like the end of a relationship is not a failure. Relationships aren't a success based on their longevity or what fucking ever. The success of a relationship is like, what did I learn from that? Who did I become? What did that grow me into? And how can I take that into who I want to be moving forward?
I'm taking notes right now because this I'm still working on this one, but I 100% agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, my last significant relationship felt kind of love of my life and like was such a painful breakup. But even in that breakup, I knew that relationship had grown me and changed me and been ultimately like absolutely for my good. The end of that relationship was with the catalyst for starting the fucking blog that then led to me getting coach training that then led to me starting this podcast. And I could even that time I could like see it in the moment even though I was still completely fucking heartbroken. And that's where that like it's going to be amazing piece comes in. That's where the like trusting in the universe is ultimately working for our good comes in. And that it is a choice. Like it's a choice to take on that perspective of like, okay, like I'm heartbroken and I miss this person and I don't want this to be this way. But like, who is this helping? Like, who has this already helped me become?
Yeah. It just makes me think, what are we solving for is a great question that a friend of mine asks sometimes. And I really love that question. I'm thinking about ultimately for me, it's like becoming the best version of myself, whatever that is, that I don't even know. And in that, there's something that I heard in what you said. It's like my self-love told me that I need to let this go or that I need to be grateful that it dissolved, like this relationship. Like, what is my learning? And can you love yourself through this? And because that for me is ultimately what I'm after is just to love myself and to teach other people that they can love themselves too, exactly where they are right now.
Yeah. And that idea of like, if we're trying to figure out what the fuck being authentically ourselves is, right? It's can I love myself? Like, what are the, like, authentically, like, what are the parts of me that have been yearning to come forward that I've been telling myself aren't allowed? Yeah. Like my sensitivity, my propensity for tears, like that's just one of the various parts of myself that for the longest time I tried to stifle and was like, this isn't allowed and I need to like buck up and I can't be this person and I'm so sensitive. And the more I've stopped fighting with that and just been like, I'm apparently crying right now.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I've come to the conclusion that actually all the things that I thought I was supposed to hide are actually my superpowers. So when you said your propensity for tears, like I'm an easy crier and I love to cry. As I cry, I notice these days I'm like, I'm letting go of something. I'm letting go of some shame or some grief, and then I'm replacing it with joy. And I can feel the profundity of my tears. But in that, that is my superpower, to be emotionally available. I mean, one might not think that after so much abuse and so much whatever else, so much life, that I could hold on to such a tenderness. And so it is a superpower. Again, when I go into coaching and my spaciousness, the space I can create for people and the generosity and the being able to look someone in the eye and let them be exactly who they are, because life is messy and people are messy and yet they're all whole. And so to just let people be that, I just, those are my superpowers. And I found those through my hardships. Hardship is a pathway to peace. It's part of the long version of the serenity prayer that I say to myself every day. And I appreciate my hardships because they've brought me to such grace.
Right. And
Yeah.
that, oh man, getting to that place of appreciating our hardships.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, like recovery and like 12-step recovery and therapy have absolutely been like vital in being able to get to that place.
100%. Yeah.
But God, like that's the magic sauce of life, is being able to look back, and instead of looking back with like anger and regret and self-loathing, it's to be able to sort of set all of that gunk aside. Like I'm getting a metaphor of like sweeping out the like trash heap
Hmm.
and saying like, okay, like fuck all of that noise. How amazing is it that in spite of like all of that stuff, and because of all of that stuff, I am who I am today.
Yeah.
Because I was bullied for being overweight as a kid, because I've struggled with body dysmorphia and raging insecurity and disordered eating and whatever, like I get to show up with so much like compassion and care and awareness and empathy for all of the other goddamn humans who've had to deal with that too. Because you know what? Kids are fucking mean.
Yeah.
The world can be real hard when you're little and can't take care of yourself. And it can really like fuck you up in ways that it takes a lot of effort in adulthood to unpack.
Right. And during all that time, you're okay exactly where you are at any given time. And this is the other thing that came to me when you were talking. It's that people make sense where they come from.
Yeah.
You know, like our 8th grade selves that were bullied, or our queer selves that weren't allowed, or our abused selves, or our food scarcity selves, or our wherever we come from, we make sense. And so whatever we still bring with us, it's all okay.
Yeah.
I still have control issues. I still have moments where I want to people please or caretake more than I want to just be with someone and witness them, you know, so, and I get to have that because
Yeah, and just I'm having this moment of like that's a beautiful like piece of like being our authentic selves. Means we get to be imperfect.
yeah.
Ugh.
I'm thinking that the caterpillar isn't longing to be a butterfly, and the pupae is also like, God, if I just hurry this up and just be a butterfly already, or if I could just go back to that caterpillar stage, I'd be fine. Like, I mean, humans are the only ones that actually have the thought process to kind of recognize where they are and think about it. But it's like, just allow ourselves to be in that state. Be messy, be squishy, be goopy, be a beautiful butterfly on those days that you're a beautiful butterfly, be a caterpillar all fuzzy and like taking forever to cross the sidewalk and eating a leaf, you know, like whatever, wherever you are, like just be it, you know, don't hurt people in the process of it. You don't have to take it out on anybody, but you could just be it and be like, this is where I am. I'm munching a leaf and I wish I could get across the sidewalk a little faster.
Right? And you know, it's like we're also always gonna be in, you know, the metaphor falls apart because, you know, the butterfly doesn't turn back into a caterpillar, but in like our human suit evolution of like continuing to live and continuing to grow and continuing to change, like I can't be the same person at 50 as I am at 40 because there's like 10 fucking years of the world happening in between. And like goddamn smartphones are going to get implanted in our head or whatever in 10 years. So like, I can't be the same person. So I'm going to have to go back through the fucking being a caterpillar again. Like, what is this technology shit? How do I do this? Ah!
Yeah. Well, the good news, I don't know. I'm thinking about the metaphor and I'm trying to hold on to, well, the butterfly isn't instantly like a transformed thing and then has like some Disney ending. It actually has to conquer the winds and still has to do its job, and it has to fly. I mean, if you're a monarch in the Michoacan and you're trying to fly thousands of miles, and then your life is actually really short. So you better get shit done because life is also short. So let me just throw that into the mix. So maybe we don't even have to worry about, you know, whatever's going to be implanted in our brains. We actually get to be right here, right now, take care of ourselves, take care of each other, and love ourselves through it. I mean, when we're present, we don't have to worry about what's coming next, especially 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
I just don't have to wake up this, you know, tomorrow morning, give myself a high five, go do my stretches, and, you know, get myself wherever I need to get myself.
Yeah. I like that idea though of, okay, am I a caterpillar? Am I a pupae? Am I a butterfly? right? Like, where am I in
Yes
the
and
thing
yes.
today, right? Yeah, right? Like, in some areas, like, I'm gonna be a goddamn butterfly. Like, I need to bake a cake for somebody, I'm butterflying it up. I know how to do
Yeah,
that.
you
It's
do.
gonna be delicious, whatever, right? But, like, I need to, like, fucking overhaul my website, whatever. Like, I'm probably in the, like, caterpillar pupae phase, and it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, how beautiful
Um,
it would be just to let ourselves all be in all of those states in whatever we are pursuing.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the point I was trying to get to is like we're always going to be pursuing something.
God, I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so.
I don't know. I think anyone who is like on this podcast or listening to this podcast, right? We're talking about settling is bullshit and like settling is stagnation. And
Yeah.
so I believe in the pursuit of who we want to be and like who we want to be next and that like who we are today is good enough, right?
Yeah.
That like that's the foundation we're building on,
Yeah.
right? That we're not pursuing any of this shit because we need it for us to be better or different or whatever. It's just the like, oh man, the world is like so big and so full of possibilities. And yeah, like I'm just tickled by the idea of like I get to create who I'm gonna be in 10 years, in 20 years. You
Mm.
know, what kind of cute, quirky old lady do I wanna be? And I can plant those seeds today.
Yeah.
I definitely like I totally have this vision of myself and I'm gonna tell on myself here because like maybe I'll start taking action towards it. But like I wanna be one of those like awesome like 70-year-old yoga ladies. But if I wanna be that, it would probably serve me to start doing yoga more. Cause I'm like lucky if I get it in once a week. But also the fact that I'm only getting yoga in once a week is great. I'm getting yoga in once a week,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. As you say that, well, two things. Two things for you. One is I still see leopard and purple in your future,
100%.
no matter what age you are. But when I think about it, I'm looking forward to surprise, especially after being in recovery for as long as I've been in recovery. And I love the promises for anyone who's listening that is in 12-step recovery. And if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. And I have been beyond
See, it's
surprised.
gonna
Like,
be amazing.
it's going to be amazing. And it's always better than what I could have curated or controlled. And I am a recovering control freak. And so to let go and just have goals and pursue them with the best of my ability and then let them go when I can't control them. But I am always delighted and surprised by what the outcome is, infinitely more than when I control it. So I'm just going to be like, maybe I'm in purple and leopard. I don't know. I'm going to just let
Yeah, well,
age tell me.
and that's the like the process over product, right? Like journey over destination thing is what if I can sort of like look to the horizon and be like, oh, it'd be cool if I got there, like yoga lady, maybe wearing wigs. I don't know. Um, right. But like, can I enjoy myself in that direction and trust that things are gonna unfold?
Yeah, I think can I just enjoy it? Can I just
Yeah.
enjoy it? And can I love myself through it and to it? Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking about this idea of like emotional archeology, of creating ourselves, of figuring out what we don't want in order to find what we do, so much of that joy can be at the center,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Yeah.
Of tapping into where is my enjoyment? Where is my joy? And what does that tell me? What wants to come forth along with that, through that, from that? Am I allowing myself joy? Am I allowing myself to enjoy myself? What are the stories that come up that tell me I can't enjoy that or I
Yeah.
can't this, that, or the other? Authenticity and joy are bedfellows or besties. I don't know. Or the same thing.
Yeah. That sounds right to me. Absolutely. I don't know why what's coming up for me is actually like kind of the opposite, which is fear. What so much stops us. And I guess maybe just because I really want to honor people's journeys and wherever they are. And I'm just sensing and I'm guessing and I'm making this up that some of your listeners right now just may be like in too much fear to see authenticity and possibility and joy, and that it's okay to be where you are. I mean, we've already said this, but I think when it's really hard is where we really don't want to be. And I don't know, there's just some piece of me wondered if while we've been talking, I haven't spent enough time honoring what's been hard, what's been fearful, that having 5 majors is not great. Having 11 years of pursuing an undergrad degree was not fun. Because having parents come at you and say you need to choose something and telling you should go to business school, or all the things that come at you that only reinforce the fear. But just to really, like, it's okay to just be with what scares you, what you think just feels fucking impossible.
Yeah.
You know, when it bring us down, I just want to bring us into a reality check. I just want to, I'm giving all of myself, all of my love, all the capacity that I have right now. I'm just spreading the blanket of experience for everybody to be where they are.
Totally. Yeah. No, my 3 years in Greenville, South Carolina, which is like not my place, was really fucking hard. And I was so afraid of letting go of who I thought I was supposed to be and who I thought I wanted to be. Being a college professor had been my dream, and I got it. And then it wasn't what I wanted. And then what did that mean about me? And then, it was really hard to be in that place. And it was really hard to be not in that, like to make the decision. Like it was hard to be there. It was hard to decide to do something different. It was hard to get on the other side and be doing something different. And that was hard.
Yeah, a lot of learning.
Yeah. And, even now, the things that I am doing in my life now, and the things that I'm pursuing for myself now, and the yearnings that I have that aren't being met, like that's hard. It is.
Yeah.
And I think for me, my hope for anyone who's listening is that at the very least, in this like emotional archaeology, in this like shining the light of awareness, you can take small steps, little baby actions to like shift the seesaw of hope and joy and possibility and like fear and discomfort, so that they're at least like a little bit like more in the realm of even. And like my big dream for you is that like we get to the sort of like 51% hope and joy and possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what then grows to 52 and then to 60. And I'm just also thinking, as I hear you, because you've started this podcast not that long ago, and yet you're killing it, and it's beautiful, and it's so about who you are. There was something in that, like you said, right now. And I was like, right now, girl, you're crushing it. Like you are crushing it as a coach and as a podcaster, and as, you step into your own greatness. And yeah, it's still an uphill.
Right. And I want to like bring forward that like that can all be true and it can still be hard. Yeah. And I'm still scared sometimes, right? There's a book called Thinking in Bets that I read a few years ago that I really enjoy, that she just talks about basically like thinking and making assertions in percentages in a way that like helps with the black and white thinking, the like yes or no, the I'm this or I'm that. And so, I don't know, in the like seesaw teeter-totter analogy, I was just like, I'm like 70-30, feeling real good and feeling really in my authenticity and like feeling really into hope and possibility. But like that 30% of like, I'm fucking afraid, this is hard, I don't know if I'm good enough, like that's there.
Yeah. Well, I guess the other piece that I wanted to add, which is when I was talking about, your podcast and about this now, is that find your tribe, find the people that support you. Because I'm sitting... I haven't cried much or very fully on this podcast, but sitting across from a person who supports me so fully and wholeheartedly, and I support back, and there's nothing like it. So we also don't have to do this life alone. I mean, of all the things, like, yeah, you need to dip inside yourself and be with yourself and find out who you are and where your light shines and what you want and what your goals are, but share them with someone safe, share them with someone who's going to hold that for you, and let them help you bring it forth.
Yeah, like archaeologists don't just like show up on their own. Like, they need fucking funding and they need like teaching assistants and whatever. Like, yeah,
That's
that
right.
like
My hands are dirty. I need a note taker, you know? Someone like writing down what the things are we're finding and gathering. And
right. Right. Something I love. Earlier, we were kind of talking about trauma, and I was thinking about Oprah's book, What Happened to You? And one of the many things I love about that book is that she talks about how we don't heal alone. We didn't get our trauma and our wounds alone, and we don't heal them alone. And like, we absolutely need our people. And I'm so grateful for like you being one of my people and my coach being one of my people, that like, I didn't do this on my own. I mean, I've done a lot of it on my own. This fucking shit, like, I edit this shit by myself, y'all. It's a hassle. But like, getting to the place of believing in myself and believing in what I'm doing, and
well,
like,
the good news is you won't have to edit anything because all of this has just been nothing but gems.
exactly. This is completely uncut and uncensored when you listen to it. Learning to ask for help.
Yeah.
Has been such a huge part of getting to where I am today, and then learning to receive it, right?
Preach.
And I think tapping into finding my authenticity has been finding people that I felt safe with and finding people that I could like unmask and really be the person that I am when I think nobody's looking in front of somebody. Right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. There are just so many things that I can do by myself for myself. And then to actually share them with another person becomes a whole other thing. Yeah. Safety's huge for a lot of us who come from a particular place.
Right. And, and that's why therapy is amazing. That's why like recovery groups are amazing, is that we find community and we find connection in at least one other person that we can sort of share our whole selves with. And once we learn that like that's safe, that's what makes it possible to do it with like another person and then maybe another person, and to step a little bit more and a little bit more forward into who we really want to be.
Yeah. Growing community is so important. And it is so invaluable to have that community, whatever community you want to build. Again, you're creating yourself and you get to create your community and find the people that support you fully and that you get to be fully yourself with.
Yeah. And like, I think that idea of like letting people go and shedding, like, it's so painful.
Yeah. My friend calls it sloughing, like sloughing dead
right?
skin.
It's like the exfoliating. I like that, like exfoliating my phone list, my contact list. I don't know, but it's really hard, and it has required of me really intentionally setting aside the scarcity mindset, right? Because like, if I'm in scarcity, I can't let go. And if I can't let go of the people and the situations where like I can't be myself, then like I can't be myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an uncomfortable and painful place to be, and it's not worth the trade-off, is what I have found. Is that like, the more I put myself in situations where I can't be myself, the smaller I get.
Yeah. And the opposite of that is the more I step into my authentic self, like, I've realized I'm a miracle. I've realized I am powerful. I realize other people are powerful. Other people are huge, can be like, when they step into who they are, they declare who they are, what they want. They get to be leaders of their own lives, of themselves and the things they want to pursue. And that's what's so beautiful. Like, I'm just picturing now suddenly like all these Venn diagrams overlapping. But when people are so small, they're like, no one's touching. They're like separate little bubbles. But when we all get to step into our authentic selves, we get to be huge, and we all overlap where we overlap. And then we hold such grace and possibility and love and support for each other.
I love that. I'm just like picturing this world of all of us having these like big, beautiful, sparkly energy bubbles that like we walk around the world in and can touch, and like,
My musical theater queenness is coming through, and I'm picturing Glinda the Good Witch coming out in her big round bubble, and we all get to be in Glinda the Good Witch bubbles and shine how we shine.
Yeah, I love that. Jayme, what's your invitation to a listener?
Oh my gosh. my invitation is get quiet and get in touch with that center, juicy sweetness of yourself. Find the thing you love. Fingernails, left, middle finger, knuckle, whatever it is, and just love the shit out of it and then keep growing it. I have a picture of myself when I was 12 and I was dissociative and I was chubby and I looked like a deer in the headlights. And I have it on my mantle because it was the hardest version of myself that I could possibly love. I hated that kid. And it pains me to say that I hated that kid. But now I love that kid. I love all the parts of myself. That poor kid that went through so much. That's where the miracle is. So my invitation to people is to find the miracle in yourself and keep blowing it up, to keep sparkling and keep growing it and let it direct you to who you are best in the world. And then give it away. Because my job now is to give all that I've learned away to other people so they can shine.
Beautiful. Jayme, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram. I have 2 accounts. I have a personal account, Jayme Rocket. That's Jayme Rocket. And then I'm also Coach Jayme. I also have a website, JaymeRoderickCoaching.com. And I am happy to talk to you about coaching and see if you want to be a client of mine, because I love coaching so much and I want to help you get to the best version of yourself that you can imagine. And you can find me on LinkedIn, and you can probably find me walking around Golden Gate Park in San Francisco sometime.
Jayme, final question. What brings you joy?
Connecting with people's hearts. My heart to their heart. I just want to connect with people.
Beautiful. Well, our hearts are connected across this kitchen table and when we're not in each other's proximity. It's been so beautiful to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please help me grow the podcast by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with anyone you think would benefit from hearing it too. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to get updates about new episodes, posts, and offerings, please visit settlingisbullshit.com to subscribe to my newsletter. You can also find information there about working with me one-on-one to build your most amazing life. Until next time, remember that I believe in you and that you are fucking awesome.